We need to eat the baby.
I have no respect for women voting for Trump. Okay? I think so poorly of them, and the reason why.
Hey, welcome back to Idaho News. Mountain Home Air Force Base seeks public opinion on aircraft height restrictions. Mountain Home Air Force Base officials are asking for the public's input on whether or not aircraft can fly lower in parts of Idaho, Nevada, and Oregon. As the Air Force looks across the globe, we see a changing threat environment. In other words, our competitors are getting technologically advanced, said Colonel Richard A. Goodman, a wing commander on the 366th Fighter Wing. So what the Air Force thinks is that probably needs to change the way that we train and the way that we fight. So we're trying to understand what it means to the airspace in terms of how high and how low that we're flying. They are currently in their public scoping period, which is at the beginning stages. We look to optimize the airspace that we currently have and change some of the levels that we can do things at, said Lieutenant Colonel Brian Robbins, a weapons systems officer. What areas we may need to put in the mitigation factors so we don't disturb the wildlife that is there or the reaction that goes on out there. They are considering doing this for multiple reasons. It has to do with our survivability of our aircrew and the changes and threats in the world to the air systems and the surface-to-air systems. We need to upgrade our tactics in order to properly do that and change our habit patterns. So we need to change how we use the airspace a little bit, Robin said. The Mountain Home Air Force Base will be accepting questions and concerns until November 25th. This is part of a study to understand the airspace optimization so that if there's changes in the future, we want to ensure that all concerns and interests are captured. So that's what this public comment period is about, said Goodman. Idaho man must pay more than $12,000 after creating fake lease while living with ex-wife. Haley Harding from the Idaho Statesman. A man this week was ordered to pay $12,000 in restitution and serve 8 days in jail after he pleaded guilty to insurance fraud. Todd A. Young, 57, was living with his ex-wife in Nampa after his cabin in Cascade burned down in 2016. As part of his 2014 divorce settlement, Idaho Statesman reports he had a right to live in her home rent-free until June 2017. Young's insurance policy on the cabin compensated him for rent until he found permanent housing, according to a release from the Idaho State Department of Insurance that he filed a claim with Farmers Insurance Company. He created a fictitious lease for the home he was living in rent-free, without his ex-wife's knowledge, that said that he charged $2,000 monthly for rent. According to the release, the insurance company paid that for 6 months, totaling $12,000. Young later admitted to the Department of Insurance investigator that he had pocketed the money instead of using it for rent. A fraudulent claim may not seem like a big deal on the surface, but according to FBI estimates, insurance fraud costs the average American family between $400 and $700 per year in the form of insurance premiums, Dean Cameron, director of the Department of Insurance, said in a release. Young pleaded guilty in September and was sentenced Wednesday. The court withheld judgment and put Young on supervised probation for 3 years. He must pay court costs and will have to serve his 8 days by November 30th. He must also pay back Farmers Insurance Company $12,000 along with $345.82 to the Department of Insurance, according to the release. He will have 90 days of jail time suspended under the direction of his probation officer. Alright, so Governor Little asked state agencies to cut spending while protecting education budgets. Corbin, IdahoNews.com. Governor Brad Little said he will protect public schools from the new spending and budget reductions he is asking of other state agencies. Little is asking other agencies to find places to cut spending over 2 years' worth of budgets, but he indicated he would seek additional funding for education. In a memo to agency heads sent Friday, Little's Chief of Staff, Zach Hugh, said the Division of Financial Management will implement a 1% rescission to the 2019-20 budget for all general fund state agencies. DFM will apply a 2% base reduction to all general fund state agencies' budget in 2020-21. Representative Wendy Horman, which is pictured here, a vice chair of the powerful Joint Finance Appropriations Committee, said Little's approach makes sense. I appreciate them taking a proactive approach to the spending reset, said Horman, a representative of Idaho Falls. As you know, late sessions there were a lot of conversations among legislators looking into base spending. Our maintenance budgets have gotten so high. In 2020-21 budget year begins July 1st. The legislator will set this budget during the 2020 session. Idaho is already in the middle of a 2019-20 budget year, which will be affected by the 1% rescissions. While other agencies must by next week provide written plans to implement the funding reductions, the requirements do not apply to K through 12. All right, like, subscribe, share, comment, donate.